Hello friends, welcome back to another Sunday special. Each week I go through the markets, I talk about things like the US dollar, I talk about gold, I talk about the euro, the pound, and a bunch of other different things. And in this week's video, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be going through the markets and talking about potential trade setups and where I think markets may be headed next based on the trends and analysis that we see going forward. Now, please remember this is not financial advice. I'm sharing my thoughts and opinions here, and I can be wrong, but for the most part, I'm going to be talking about trade setups and ideas that I am looking at going into the week ahead. Now, quickly before I get into the video, I do want to say that we are doing a 25% off sale on our VIP Discord community. If you've been planning to join us, now is your chance to do it for a very low price. Down below in the description, there's a link to sign up and a promo code that you can plug in there to get 25% off of your membership. Inside of the group, you'll get access to see all of the trades that I am taking. So if I take a trade, you'll be able to see it, not just with my entries, stop loss, take profit, that sort of thing, but also with the full analysis and breakdown on trades that I'm taking. For example, I'm long in the dollar against the Swiss franc right now. I explained the fundamentals, the technicals, everything that's going into the trade. It's not just a copy service, but rather, a place for myself and some of our other top traders to journal their trades. On top of that, we've got chat rooms available so you can meet people all around the world. We have members from Asia, Africa, Europe, North America, all over the place. So again, I want to encourage you to come join us inside of the group, get access there. We do coaching webinars, all sorts of things. But again, use that code down below to try us out for a month, and I'm very confident that you're going to love the group and want to stick around for the long term. So with that said, let's jump into this week's analysis, starting with the DXY. If you don't know what the DXY is a US dollar currency index. It's a way to look at the dollar against several different currencies at the same time. You've got things like the euro, you've got things like the pound, the Aussie, right? You have all sorts of different things lined up against the dollar in a single chart. And so what we'll notice here very quickly is that looking at the 4-hour chart, last week was a really good week for the dollar. We saw a lot of strength there to the upside. Now, my opinion when it comes to the dollar going into this week is that the path of least resistance is more upside. Now, I do think, however, that after this big run up, that what we started to see towards the end of the week is a very healthy retracement. So what I mean by that is after a big run up like that, it's very common to see price digest that move, maybe pull back, and to look for new, fresh buyers. That area to me that could be interesting, maybe a pullback to this 38.2% retracement. If you don't know what I mean, what I drew is from here, the bottom of this trend to the top of this trend, I drew a Fibonacci retracement tool. And what you'll notice is that it gives us three levels, the 38.2, the 50%, and the 61.8% retracement. I do like this 38.2% retracement because it is a nice, healthy pullback level on top of the fact that it's got a nice lineup with what was previous resistance. Notice that 3 times price was able to hold this area for sellers before price was ultimately able to break out and to continue higher last week. I'm going to be looking for opportunities to join the move on the dollar for the time being. I am dollar bullish at this time and looking for the dollar to not just, crash from here, but I think that new high, by the way, that's a high of the year that was just put in by DXY. I think that the dollar may be set to put in higher highs from here. Again, we are seeing higher lows. The overall pattern does seem very strong to the upside. So for me, looking at the dollar this week, I have a bullish perspective if price can give us a little bit more of a pullback scenario. Now, with that said, let's see if we can find some more individual currency pairs that may be of interest. We'll take a look now at the EURUSD, and I want to show you guys a little bit of a setup that I am personally interested in taking, or at least reconsidering if it comes into play here on the euro against the US dollar. The exchange rate of 1.1680 looks very interesting to me for a potential short in favor of this downward trend. We can draw the moving averages here, and you can see I'm using the 100, the 50, and the 200, and all three are pointing lower and in order here from that least to greatest, showing that the overall trend here is very strong to the downside on the 4-hour chart. Should price pop up to these levels, if we do see a bit more pullback on the dollar, as I was talking about, remember, we're looking at Euro USD. If we're talking about a pullback on the dollar after looking at that DXY, that could lead the euro to strengthen a bit here. Well, if that happens, if we see a little bit more of a pullback there, I am a fan personally personally of looking for possible short opportunities on the Euro USD. Now, of course, if I decide to actually take those trades or execute them, those of you guys who are in the members group will see that trade pop up here in real time. So the second I take the trade, right away, I post it in here for members to see for their own insight and sort of educational value. Now, with that said, the Euro USD at the 61.8, I realize that that's a bit far away, but I want to show you guys one more pair here that may be of interest to you as well. Again, Euro USD to the short side makes a lot of sense. We're making a nice push down overall here on the higher time frames. This is a new yearly low, so we could mark that as your yearly low for 2021, which is a big deal, the fact that it's pushing lower there. But I did want to show you, like I said, one more currency pair that may be of interest to you that is similar to the Euro USD and behaving in a similar way as well. That is pound dollar. Check this out, you guys. Again, moving averages lined up very well here as sellers are in control of this market, at least for the time being. Can that change? Sure. Maybe the pound has a really strong rally all of a sudden, and we have to reconsider, reevaluate. Again, whatever trades that I'm personally taking, I will execute them inside of the Discord. So as I look at this, if price is able to pull back here, we also put in a yearly low here for the pound. Right there is the yearly low for 2021. Now we are off of those lows, but just because we made lows doesn't necessarily mean that that is going to be the low of the entire year. We very quickly, if sellers do get strong again, could see price form a new yearly low. Usually when you see price doing something like this, right, where it's continuing to put in those highs, it is likely or going to at least try to put in a new high. Same thing to the downside, you guys. And we're looking at the pound dollar here as price is basically broken low after low after low. And so as I look at this thing, we've tagged a 38.2. There was a little bit of hesitation there towards the end of the week, but the level that really sticks out to me is, of course, that 61.8, very similar to the Euro USD. And the reason I mentioned this one being so interesting is that, okay, you have past support in this area, almost a head and shoulders or inverted head and shoulders that sort of failed out, right? So if price comes back up to that area, you may see some pretty stubborn sellers willing to pick up some positions or maybe even add to their positions that were short in the last week, 2 weeks, or month or so. Also, that lines up very nicely with the previous yearly low, by the way. Check this out. Back here, this was the yearly low. It was a big deal that price was unable to break it. Then when this big candle showed up, that was like the line in the sand. Bears just completely demolished the buyers in this area and completely took this thing to new lows. And for me, I think that the path of least resistance when looking at the pound against the dollar is more downside. But of course, I'm still willing to take that trade only if I get a decent risk to reward. So for me, like I said, maybe a short at that 61.8 could be interesting for my trading style. Of course, you'll have to make your own trading decisions, but something like that with a reasonable risk to reward could definitely be something that I see adding to my portfolio there, going into either this week or maybe in the next week, something like that. It's something that's on my watch list. So everything that we're going through today is something that I'm at least genuinely interested in potentially taking long trades on. I do want to take a quick look at USDCHF. As I mentioned earlier, this is a trade that I shared in the Discord. It's going quite well, and I've taken several trades to the long side against the Swiss, right? So I bought CAD Swiss. That was a great trade. Popped off of that level. We could actually pull that one up as well, just for reference. So CAD Swiss, I bought on the retracement on the way up. Things went really well. And so far, still looking for long side action on the CAD. We'll talk about that maybe in just a second. But again, back to USDCHF. This one has been a really good winner for me overall. I've taken several trades on this, closing out quite a few profits there. So you can see dollar Swiss. My trade alert section seems full of dollar Swiss. I did also want to show you guys one more thing here. Patrick, so before I jump over to Patrick in just 1 second, dollar Swiss, like I said, let me finish my thought. So dollar Swiss several times presented multiple trading opportunities to the long side. We had a hot streak on that one. Again, there was like 4 trades or so in the last week or so that were just nice big movers on the dollar Swiss and the CAD Swiss and the CAD yen, all those playing out really well. Patrick, on his side of things, Patrick is another one of our analysts here inside of the private Discord community. He's looking at some things going into this week, potentially on gold, but I wanted to highlight his opportunities that he took on things like the euro. This guy killed it on the euro USD. So if you are here listening to this, Patrick, then congrats, man. This was actually really cool to watch. So let me show you guys this. So he took a trade on the euro USD a little while ago here on the euro to the short side there, somewhere back up in here. I can't find exactly where he got in, but again, made the move he was anticipating, and he was super bearish on this, just going with the trend, and added to the position, went for a secondary entry on the euro, threw out that order to members, and again, took it lower as this thing crashed to new lows. He was able to ride that out, and even he said, going to trail another 50% of my position on euro USD, hourly, bar by bar. So as each bar closes, I trail my stop just above the bar's high. I really like Patrick's style. He likes to take partial profits, which is a bit different than mine. We trade somewhat similarly in terms of trend following. And again, he caught that move, shared that to members, and just watched this thing melt away. The euro to the downside, he just took advantage of that over and over. So congrats to him. Again, out 75% of the trade there at this crazy drop. There's the hourly view of it, just completely melting away. And him and I have a similar thought. The reason I pulled him up is because I also have a similar thought with him on USDCHF, which is a general bullish outlook. We've already caught a lot of the move though, so we'll see if it can present much more from here. But anyways, that's kind of just an inside look as to what the group looks like. Again, that 25% off sale is down below in the description. I wanted to show it off a little bit more today just because I mentioned the sale, and also just to give you guys a little bit of a sort of what to expect inside of the group. We're sharing all the trades that we're taking in full detail. And again, it's not something that's like, oh, just go copy these trades. It's, hey, if you want to be a serious trader and work with traders who are really doing it, real traders out there, some of the best things that you could possibly do are to look over their shoulder and not necessarily copy, but to get insight into what they're thinking and doing and why, and maybe take some concepts and think about them in your own back testing and conceptualizing your own trading strategies. So anyways, like I said, link is down below in the description if you'd like to join us. AUDUSD is the next one that I want to talk about. So this one had a really interesting week. It sold off really hard with the dollar becoming quite strong, and now towards the end of the week, we saw the Aussie get a very nice rally. Now, although this rally is here, I'm not super interested in going super long on the Aussie dollar right now. And at the same time, this has been sort of an impressive rally here, so I think that this may have more steam in it short term. You can see this rally basically crossed over the 38.2, the 50%, and the 61.8 with not too much struggle. So it does look like to me that this may be headed up to resistance. I had this marked from earlier when I was doing some markups on the chart. Again, I think that path of least resistance there. Short term, Aussie dollar could pop back up to 73.1. But again, overall, the downtrend seems pretty strong on this currency pair. So maybe looking for opportunities. If this thing starts to get some momentum to the downside again, I may look to actually join the move at some point. Of course, I'll keep you guys posted inside of the group. But anyways, NZDUSD, of course, is the next one. This one similar to Aussie, but not coming back quite as much. The Aussie seemed very strong last week. So this one may actually have some opportunities that may be interesting. And I really like this one, possibly at the 61.8. If this rallies a bit more, NZDUSD short term may be a nice little short to continue this downward trend. Momentum here still favoring the downside in my view here until further notice and until something changes with NZD. Perhaps if we get something that is more dovish or looks tentatively threatening to the dollar bullish thesis that I have right now, I may change my opinion. But for now, technical analysis and fundamental analysis leads me to be a little bit more pressing the gas pedal on the dollar and sort of pumping the brakes on some of these other currencies. We'll take a look at USD CAD. This one is interesting for me. I have no real strong opinion on dollar CAD in terms of up or down, because right now I'm actually kind of bullish on both of these currencies. Both are in recovery stage, and I am sort of bullish on oil, which, as many of you guys know, oil being bullish tends to also cause the Canadian dollar to be bullish. And if we take a quick look at US oil really quick, you can actually see see that oil has been having an incredible month. We saw a really good rally breaking out of this sort of downward structure that we had. You can see oil making, again, pushing back up to the highs there, looking very strong, which I think is set to possibly continue here. And again, with the trend continuing to the upside, that is likely boding well for the CAD currency pairs. So again, that's why I mentioned earlier CAD yen. I've been trading this one. Took this one to the long side. I actually took a break-even trade on this inside of the group, so I was able to catch this move here. And some of the other traders in the group made profits on that move just because they were more, willing to close out of profits. But for me, trailing my stops, I only ever got to a point where I was able to move it to break even. So of course, not all my trades are miracle works. I wish they were. I'd be a bazillionaire, but I was still able to get break even. So I bought the break of this upward trajectory, basically, that triangle breakout there. Bought into that, saw some momentum to the upside, was able to get that stop move to break even, and then when it failed, basically took out my my small profit there. So I am looking, however, for more opportunities on CAD pairs. CAD yen, CAD Swiss at the top of my list at this time. Euro CAD as well, but the euro has already made its move back to the downside. So possibly if this thing were to pop up again, I could see myself looking for short opportunities. But for me right now, I am bullish on the CAD, bullish on the dollar. Now let's take a look at XAUUSD for my friends out there who are trading gold. I did want to make a point to the bulls out there. So the bulls had a pretty good run last week. Depending on how you draw this trend line, you can see either way, it did look like we had a very strong bullish week for gold. So trend line number, we'll do number one as the shorter term one. You can see basically we had a pretty clean break on that candle. And trend line number two here, we sort of had a bit of a break and sort of congestion there, holding the gains by the end of the week. So both of those very interesting perspectives. I think that gold here, the path of least resistance to me, looks like a possible move back up to something like 1780. Now, I'm not super bullish long-term or I guess mid-term right now on gold. If that changes, if we see something change with the Fed monetary policy or something like that, perhaps we'll look for more gold longs. But for now, for what I see, this thing is pretty back and forth, not clearly directional, and for the most part, as this thing chugs along, I am more interested in seeing this thing roll over at a significant level of resistance than anything else. For the bears out there, like I said, if you look at this thing on a daily chart really quick, you can see we had this big impulsive move. So maybe if price comes back to the 50%, you may see situations where sellers get interested again, maybe to pick up more positions before pushing things lower and maybe even trying to go back to set a new yearly low. Now that is very dependent, I understand, on DXY or US dollar becoming quite strong, because if the dollar gets very strong, that could very seriously take gold lower. But again, that's why we're watching the dollar so closely. That's why I personally think that if you're going to be trading gold, you really can't trade gold without really understanding the dollar, both fundamentally and technically, in my opinion. I know that there are some technical traders, but or fully 100% technical traders, and that's fine if that works for you. But I do think just at least paying attention to the bare minimum of what's going on Fed monetary policy wise could at least add a little bit of insight to your analysis. So of course, that is my thoughts there on gold. I think, overall short term may see a bit more of a momentum push here to the upside, but overall for now, as long as dollar strength is relevant, I'm not super bullish on gold. And I think that, a short-term bullishness could be met with longer-term bears who are still picking up dollar longs, things like that. I do want to take a pause really quick to take a look at news for the upcoming week. Check this out really quick. You can see we do have some stuff Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So a busy week in terms of red folders. Here you have the OPEC meeting on Monday, which could be moving for any of the oil-based economies. You have Australia's RBA rate statement, definitely potentially market moving for Aussie currency pairs. Anything monetary policy wise for any of these currencies can be very market moving. Of course, on the Tuesday at 10 a.m., you have ISM services PMI, could be market moving. NZD, we have, again, similar to Australia, we have a rate statement. So monetary policy out of the Asian economies there, New Zealand and Australia. So pay attention to that big time. In terms of Wednesday, we have ADP, non-farm employment change. And of course, we have the big one on Friday. This is a big week in terms of USD news. You have non-farm employment change. And I do plan on streaming that event, so please mark your calendars. We will be doing NFP live. It should be a fun event, and usually it's a pretty lively live stream. So with that said, definitely some big news to pay attention to coming into the week ahead. That is pretty much everything that I've got for you guys. Again, I do want to remind you, if you're not already in our Discord and you made it to the end of the video, if you've been saving up or planning on doing this at a certain point, this is a great time to join the group. That's why we're doing the discount right now. We've got NFP week this week. We've got all sorts of trading setups, and things just seem to be moving in the markets. So come join the action. Come join our Discord. Again, try it for at least a month. If you've been watching the channel for a while, you made it to the end of the video, try the group out for 1 month. Join this community. We've got a full staff of people that work really hard to make this the community that it is. And I want to invite you to be a part of that. Meet traders, work with our analysts, all sorts of stuff. So with that said, guys, that's going to do it for me. Link is down below in the description should you decide to join. And with that said, we will see you back next time.